Chapter 7, Echoes in the Garden. The morning sun filtered weakly through the kitchen window, casting long shadows across the floor. Decima stood barefoot by the sink, cradling her coffee, her gaze distant as she stared into the garden. Behind her, Daniel shifted on the sofa, the blanket tangled around him. He was awake now, his eyes half open, watching her in that quiet, wary way of his. The book lay on the table between them, its cracked leather cover dark and worn, the symbols etched into it seeming to shimmer faintly in the morning light. They had both seen it, both seen her pull it from the floorboards the night before. But only she seemed to feel the way the air seemed to buzz around it. Only she felt that strange, almost aching pull deep in her chest. Daniel glanced at the book, then at her, but he didn't say anything. Maybe he didn't know what to say. Maybe he was waiting for her to explain. But how could she explain something she didn't even understand? Her fingers hovered over the book's cover, her breath catching as she felt it again. That hum beneath her skin, the faint warmth that seemed to pulse in time with her heartbeat. The symbols on the cover blurred and shifted under her gaze, flickering between shapes she didn't know but somehow recognized. A whisper echoed in her mind. So faint she couldn't make out the words. Her pulse quickened. It was like she had seen these symbols before, known them, held them in her hands, long before this night, long before this house. But how could that be? She couldn't remember. And yet, somewhere inside her she did. Her eyes drifted back to the garden. The ivy had climbed higher on the wall overnight. The trees seemed taller, their leaves whispering in the breeze. And the flowers, those same blooms, she hadn't tended in years, were opening in tight, fragrant clusters. The air itself felt thicker, charged, as though it held its breath with her. The garden wasn't just growing. It was waking up. Daniel sat up slowly, rubbing a hand across his face. His voice was rough with sleep. "Are you okay?" Decima hesitated, her fingers curling around the edge of the table. "I don't know," she whispered, her voice barely a breath. Her gaze dropped to the book again, the weight of it heavy in the quiet room. "I feel like—" she started, then trailed off. "Like what?" Daniel asked gently. Her breath shuddered out. "Like I've seen this before. Like I've known it all my life, but I forgot. And now it's all trying to come back." Daniel watched her quietly, his expression soft, but unreadable. She didn't expect him to understand. This wasn't his to feel. It was hers, her magic, her memory, her story. And the book was part of it, waiting, just like the dragon. Decima lingered for a moment longer, the pendant warm in her palm, the weight of it pressing into her skin, like an echo of something she couldn't quite remember. It felt like a key. To what, she didn't know. Behind her, the soft creak of the sofa pulled her from her thoughts. Daniel stirred, stretching lazily as the morning light warmed the room. His voice was rough, still caught in the fog of sleep. "Did you sleep at all?" Decima shook her head, her fingers curling tighter around the pendant. She felt the heat of it thrumming through her hand, the low hum whispering against her bones. Daniel's gaze drifted toward the table where the book lay closed, the leather worn and cracked, the symbols on the cover catching the light like they were watching him. He didn't say anything about it, but she could feel the weight of his eyes on her, the quiet question in his breath. Decima couldn't answer. Not yet. How could she explain what even she didn't understand? That the book felt like a door, half open, half hidden, whispering fragments of something she wasn't ready to hear. That the pendant pulsed in her palm like a second heartbeat. That the garden felt like it was waiting for her to wake up. She glanced back out the window. The air shimmered slightly, like heat rising from the ground, and for a heartbeat, she swore she saw something moving between the trees. A shadow, a flicker of silver. Her breath hitched, but when she blinked, it was gone. The world was still again. Normal. But she knew it wasn't. Nothing was normal anymore. Not the garden, not the book, not her. She took a slow breath, the pendant warm against her skin, the hum deep in her chest, the garden pulsing faintly beneath her feet. And in the quiet, a voice whispered from somewhere deep within the earth, soft, ancient, and sure. "I am Serenfe." The world had shifted, and somehow, deep down, she felt she had known this was coming. She just hadn't remembered. Until now. And she knew. Things were moving now. Pieces were falling into place. The garden wasn't just reacting to her magic. It was awakening with her. She didn't know where this was leading, or why it all felt so familiar. But as she stood there, the pendant warm in her hand and the garden humming softly around her, Decima knew one thing for certain. This wasn't the end. It was only the beginning.